that I missed. Some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist. I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today.
Good morning, Robertson County. How are you doing? This is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn Laverne, and this is One Street Over. Oh my goodness. So let's all just kind of take a collective sigh and collective breath, because we've all had kind of a wild weekend since I was here last. It was really weird. And I've got guests in studio. Jamie Nixon's in the house, and we've also got director of athletic director for the Robertson County Schools, Pat Brown's in. How you doing? Say good morning, y'all. Say good morning. Well, you know, it's one of those things, because when we were in here on Friday, we knew that the schools had been canceled, and we're all like, it's going to be windy, so we're going to cancel school. And it was, you know, I'm from West Kentucky, and I'm from Mayfield, and I know what the wind can do. So I got it immediately. I was like, I don't blame them. Well, then the wind event that we encountered on Monday on Friday was bizarre. I've never seen anything like it. Tornadoes, yeah, but just the straight line winds. I lost 3 trees, part of my barn roof. How did y'all fare?
Well, we lost a couple trees and, of course, power like we did, but luckily no shingles or anything like that. But I'm like you, it's like, I saw somebody post, it said, from here on out, my kids are going to ask, hey, it's kind of windy today. Should we be going to school?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of one of those things where, as an adult, you kind of thought, we're getting really soft.
Yeah.
And
But now I get it.
And then it rained, and then later on I was just like, holy crap.
Yeah.
This is bad.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
How did you fare, Pat?
Well, we were very
Pull up
blessed.
that microphone right to you there, buddy.
Okay, there we go. We were very blessed that we only lost like 1 tree, and it didn't hit anything, thank goodness. And our electricity came back on, I think, that night, I don't know, about 11. So we've got friends and some family members are still struggling. They don't have electricity. And then just driving around the county and seeing some of the damage. And then I was getting reports, from athletic facilities that had lost some roofs, some fences down. We had scoreboards. It was, it's a mess,
Well, and I know Danny Ashley, everybody knows who he is. Because he comes on the show with us with the museum. My husband has this little part-time gig at Ace Hardware, right? So he's in there yesterday. And Danny comes in looking for a generator, and he's like, oh, there's no generator. So I guess they're still down, too. And ours, we weren't using ours at that time because our power came back on yesterday. And so he was like, hey, I'll loan you one. And but he called and said that he had found one. So I know there's a lot of people still without power.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy, because Friday night we didn't have power, and I was like, I was like, these guys will have it all straightened out pretty quick. Did not know how widespread everything was. I had driven down my road, and I said, there's this tree down here in the power lines. Not thinking it's like that everywhere.
Yeah.
And so we head out to Hendersonville to go to the movies, and I was like, Try to go down this road. No, got to turn around, come back. Try to go down this road, turn around, come back. Try to go down Tyree Springs, trying to get to Hendersonville finally. Nope, turn around, go back.
Yeah.
Get to the bottom where New Hope is. Nope. So finally it was like, well, let's try Gallatin, And so I got to Gallatin, and the movie theater was open, and I heard somebody talking in line and saying, yeah, we went to Hendersonville first, and it was the Hendersonville theater was shut down because they just went ahead and shut down because they didn't have power. And I was like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was a trip. So
then I got a text halfway through the movie. We went to watch Creed 3, and I got a text saying, hey, power should be restored at your home. I was like, all right, sweet,
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate. It was just where we were located and what part of the grid we were on. We got it back quickly.
Yeah, well, Lawrence Lane was creepy. If you go down Lawrence Lane, and it's about halfway down at City, and then it gets into the county, and it's just all dark, and it was like back in the pioneer days, no power. But anyway, but I appreciate Cumberland Electric so much for getting us back up and running. And I thought, people who do that whenever we're snowed in and we're doing these things, and they're out there. They're out there working, and bless their hearts. Oh, my goodness. And they're still out there working because we still got people down. So, anyway, I got to tell you something about Cumberland Connect in a minute, but I'll save it for the ad. So, let's talk sports. Now, I do want to apologize. Because of all the power outages and stuff I had in my head, this was second Monday, and I forgot Jamie and Jamie and Pat were coming in, and I had double scheduled. I've got a gentleman that's going to come in, Richard Archie. I was going to call in about this bill that's coming to ban long gun carry. We're going to get all the story on that. I'll get him rescheduled. We try to get him on tomorrow at 7:30, but I'll keep you up to date on that. But again, sometimes that happens. But we've got them in studio, and we want to definitely keep with the theme of the first Monday. We want to talk sports here because we want to know what's going on in our county. Just coming up on the end, of course, of wrestling. I was so proud of Melvis Lopez, placed 7th in the state. I was so proud of him. He's one of my students, and just such a fine young man. So we were excited for him and all the things. So what is going on? You want to just update us? Where are we as far as?
Well, first of all, East Robinson boys are in what I call the sub-state.
Right.
I don't know when they changed that. I don't know why they changed it. They changed it to sectionals, and that's tonight at East Robinson at 7 p.m.
Exciting.
And I do believe they are the only Robertson County team still alive in basketball.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So we have that going on. And then, of course, baseball, which is ramping up. I know that the East Robinson High School team and middle school team has been scrimmaging. There's a scrimmage tonight. Of course, I believe every county high school has a scrimmage baseball game tonight. And then soccer is getting ramped up as well, as this is the time of year. I do want to say one thing is, like, we talk about the CEMC workers, and I refer to Pat as coach. He was coach at East Robinson back when I was there. He was football coach. So I still, in my phone, it still says Coach Brown. I still
nice.
I still call him Coach Brown. I think once you're a coach, you're always a coach, right?
Well, to some people, yeah. Sometimes,
That's
there's always
funny.
that a few people maybe didn't see it the same way as you did, but yeah, it's fun when I run into people that I coached at either East Robertson or White House Heritage, and they say coach, and you go, I don't have a first name anymore. It's just coach sometimes, and that's cool too. I like it. Yeah.
Well, the other night, Coach John Decker went with me to Jackson County to take some pictures, and he's going to be there tonight taking some pictures as well. And he was my baseball coach for 1 year. Probably learned more baseball in that 1 year than I have my whole life, and I still call him coach. I think I don't know. It's I've been very fortunate to have coaches in my life that made a big impact. Actually. Yeah. Coach Brown never coached me. I never played football. He tried, but it was just one of those things that I didn't do. And I look back at that sometimes, and I'm thinking, man, we had some really special athletes in the school, and if all of us would have played all the sports, we would have been doing what East Robinson was pretty much doing this year as well. And but anyways, it's just one of those respect things, I believe, and I think it's one of those things that also keeps me feeling young. It makes me feel as if Coach Brown he's still just a little bit older than me, so I need to just be respectful. So it just feels weird calling him Pat. Yeah. So.
Well,
how funny.
I'm a failed recruiter because I didn't recruit very well, Jamie. I didn't get you out there, and I got on here, and the thing is with Jamie, great athlete, and he actually told me to say that. So I'll get my $5
He paid you,
later.
right?
You know
It's
that's
like,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And but anyway, yeah, like I said, we had some great athletes come through at that time period. And of course, we they got to go to the state tournament for basketball, and we did some good things in football with the district, and got to go in the playoffs. And of course, like I said, there were some great athletes that came through there at that time.
Yeah.
I love it.
Up until this year, Coach Brown was the coach of East Robinson football that had went the furthest. This year is when they surpassed that mark that he had coached them. You coached 2 undefeated seasons, correct? Or 92? You
Oh, wow.
you were undefeated until the loss in the playoffs. And was it the following year? Or was it 92?
Yeah, we had the first 2 years as a head coach. It was I got spoiled.
Yeah.
We went undefeated in the regular season both years. And of course, we were very blessed. We had Curtis Woodard, who went on to be Mr. Football. We had, of course, James Cook that went on to be a Mr. Football in his senior year. We had the Swearingens, and with Rodney and them, and Tim and Kirk and them, and then so we had a good group of young people that played really hard, and so we had some success there on the football field and got to the second round of the playoffs, and unfortunately we couldn't kick that door in. So, but they did this year. So Coach Brooks is doing a great job out there, and the program looks really solid, and they played really well.
Yeah, it's amazing when you can bring in good coaches that bring in a good culture and a good atmosphere, and they get the respect of the players, of the student athletes. And then once you get that community support, Coach, like how valuable is that?
Well, of course, East Robertson's always been very supportive. Like a lot of our communities, they get behind the sports. They want to see the young people do well, so they're there. They turn out. I think the key thing there is, especially with the facilities. We just mentioned some of our facilities took a beating in this past week. And so now some of that's got to be rebuilt, and we have a lot of community support and a lot of people that want to help. And so a lot of times they just jump in and they get the job done. And so as we go through trying to improve our facilities each year, it's amazing to me how many people out there in the community just want to do something. They just want to help the kids, and they want things to get better. So obviously I'm sure this will, once everybody gets their, families taken care of and their homes back to normal, and then they're going to turn to the community to try to help out.
What happened? I mean, since you mentioned that, and that's something we got an email from Dr. Causey saying, "Hey, have you checked out your facilities?" So do you have a list of things that happened? Do you? Because I have not heard any specifics about our schools.
Right. Well, just being, like I said, I have to be totally transparent. We were on the road this weekend, and so we were fortunate enough that we didn't have any damage at the house, and then we were also on the road where we didn't have any issues there, and so I was getting a lot of things, second, third, fourth hand.
Sure.
Dr. Causey's, he does a great job of keeping us informed. Some of you might know Clint Corbin, who's now our buildings and grounds supervisor.
Right.
Him and his crew are out there, and they're working, day and night, just trying to get things back to normal. And so we got, from an athletic facility side, like we were mentioning earlier, we got some fences down, some roofs off dugouts. We've got some scoreboards that need to be either one adjusted, fixed. We even have some lights that need to be taken care of. So, we just hate it because all the spring sports, like
Are just
Jamie
about to
mentioned,
start, yeah.
they're
And you
jumped
got-
in.
yeah.
The middle schools are going at it full blast now, and the high schools are jumping in. So it's a challenge, and so they're gonna have to kind of work around that at the school level to find, make sure they got their facilities where they can actually participate and play.
Absolutely.
One of
So-
the things I was going to say earlier about the CEMC workers, as we think about them out there working and helping everybody else out, Clint and his crew has been out there, just think you've got 5 county high schools, so you have 10 baseball, softball teams, and you have 5 more soccer teams, I do believe. I believe everybody has a high school soccer team now. I'm not sure.
Joe Burns co-ops with East Robertson. So
you have that, and so you've got all of those, and then at the same time you have, there was power out to East Robinson, so it's kind of like you gotta make sure that that's there. you know, just because of the game, because TWSAA does not want you to reschedule that to give anybody a heads up, you know, or I guess, you know, all these sectional games are happening tonight so that they can go ahead and get these games lined up for next week in Murfreesboro. So, you know, you've got a bunch of guys or a team there at Roberts County that is trying to get all this stuff straightened out. Coach, I do want to ask you a question. You know, a long time ago, all the stadium lighting was connected with wires, kind of like, you know, what you see now. I know as new lights are put in, they have the underground power. Am I correct? Or is it?
That look.
If you don't know,
is that a new technology? You're trying to,
I was thinking if maybe the power goes down and it runs underground and runs up to each pole, but I guess that's another thing that if that wind, I was watching the cables.
Yeah.
That was the thing that I noticed the other day was how much the wires were moving just by the wind, not even by getting touched. And of course, you know, those poles get bent and snapped and things like that. And then, you know, on top of being super dangerous, then at that point you're pretty much out any lights. So.
Yeah. You know, you look. I know CMC's had crews out all over the county, you know, cutting back tree limbs and all that. You know, and you think, okay, so those guys were working and they were trying to get things cleared. So and that was before the storm, you know. So now they're going to be even working twice as hard. But to go to your point there, that would be a great idea, you know. But you got to think about a lot of our facilities, you know, have been there, you know, since the schools were built or they were built by the communities, and so. You did what you had to do to get your kids on the field. So, that's going to be something to address.
So, on top of Clint's crews being out there, I know there's a lot of teams that are going to be assessing some damage or have been and will be this week assessing things and getting things done because, you know, and I don't want to, I'm an athlete, so I do shine a big spotlight on that. You know, I know how important high school sports was in my life, and I just know that there's a lot of kids that they need the team more than the team needs them, kind of thing. And so when we have another team like our parents and our communities that can rally around that and get things done, it's very important because, you know, we're not looking at players. You know, we have a huge number of players this year signing to go to play college ball in their respective sport, but for most people, no one's going to become a national champion in football or basketball or baseball or soccer, swimming, whatever that we have, and nobody's really turning professional. You know, that's very slim chance, but it's just the structure that it gives you while you're in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And that accountability and that responsibility. There's things that I still apply to my life now at 49 years old that I learned from a team concept from a coach, David Colley, that still applies.
Yeah, my coach was Jim Long. You know, that was the one who had the biggest impact on me. And my husband, he played through college, and we knew that as parents and really pushed our kids, maybe a little too much. You know how you'll go back and you're like, you know, maybe I should have backed off a little bit on that. But we had we had one that played through college, and two that played, you know, football all the way through, and and one was some soccer and different things. So the athleticism, we tried to instill that in our kids from the very get-go because we know that, and it just makes such a difference. So I mean, it's just unless you've been there, you don't really get it, and you know, until you've had that, till you can be older and look back and it's like my athleticism that changed me and gave me an edge. Does that make, you know? So you try to instill that in the kiddos, but you know, it's like.
Well, and it's amazing to me, like if you go into the corporate world, how many times do you hear the word coach, and how many times do you hear team and collaboration?
And that's the truth.
So they borrow a lot from what we try to instill. Like Jamie said, you know, it's about those things you learn on the sports field, like perseverance and getting back up and brushing the dirt off and getting back. Especially after this past weekend, we got some, you know, people that had to do that. They had to figure out ways to take care of their families, and to do that, they reached out. They found people that would help, or you know, they They went somewhere and watched a movie.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
That's funny. I like how you did that there.
Yeah, I kinda
You just kind of brought it back
segued
around.
that right
I love
into
it.
Jamie,
I love
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I tell you what, let's go ahead. That's a good place for us to pause, and we'll come back and talk with our guests. And again, if you were anticipating us talking about the gun legislation, we'll do that hopefully tomorrow. I'll try to get that rescheduled. I just ask for forgiveness. It's been a crazy weekend, and it was just nuts. If you were out there and had anything happen with your home, you know what I'm talking about. When the power goes, we're such wimps. When the power goes out, and I had a generator. I mean, I wasn't even one of those that didn't have a generator and a gas top, so I had percolator coffee, and I mean, we managed, but I digress. So let's talk about Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. Here's the deal. I did not get by there this weekend as I intended because I thought I might need to stay out of her way because I can imagine that they had some things going on at Corbin with all the winds that came through. I had intended on going out there on Monday or Friday because I'm out of CBD oil and I use that for my arthritis. My hip replacement doctor told me to use CBD and it does help me tremendously, guys. So I just can't say enough about it. I will be by there either today or tomorrow, just whatever, when I can get a minute to get by there. But I'm hoping they did okay as far as anything that happened with all the winds that came through. We love you, Miss Amy. And their hours still are on their winter hours, 10 to 4, Monday through Saturday, and Sunday from 1 to 4. Now, if you want to grow your garden perfectly, here's what's going to happen. You need to go and get all your bedding plants from them because Brian Pulley with United Way testifies to the fact that last year they did their entire garden with bedding plants from Corbin. He says, the best garden I've ever had. He said, I finally had to just till them under because they were just producing so much. Well, if you want to know more, go out and see them and talk to them about how to get your garden growing just perfectly. You can call her 615-384-3185, 615-384-3185, and save the date because they are going to have their In Full Bloom Festival at Corbin Creek on April 1st, April Fool's Day. Save the date at 9 a.m. They're going to have their In Full Bloom Festival, and so that's going to be a great time. We'll be talking more about that as well. And if you go to look at their Facebook page, I'm actually scrolling down right now. They did have some damage there was some plastic that they lost off the greenhouses. So they got a lot of work ahead to get those secured again, but they're hopefully nothing too much that can't be repaired without any real difficult issues. But be praying for all of us to get everything back to normal and go by and see Corbin and talk to Miss Amy and be sure and let them know that U-Turn sent you. Talking with Sport Athletic Director Pat Brown. Nixon of Nixon Pro Media. Tell them how to get it. Same thing for you. Pat Brown was a great coach, but even better man. Congratulations on your upcoming retirement.
Who said that?
Mark Reed.
Who else did he pay? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had
Mark
to pay him
Reed.
off for sure. Yeah.
You're funny. But anyway, so tell them about how to get in touch with you.
NixonPro.com. That's the easiest way. Just get there on the interweb, and I always like to say interweb.
The interweb. Makes you sound cool, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
whatever. At NixonPro.com. That's the best way to get a hold of me. And Roseanne, she's a part of that Kenny Bob's with the barbecue sauce and the co-packing. And, and so
Okay.
Nixon Pro, we do a little work with them, and just very happy to be on that team. And yep, so thank you, Roseanne.
Very cool. And you actually, too, talking about what you do, you were mentioning that you're a part of this. What
Yeah,
do you
we-
have to do with this?
Well, we met with Ken Gamble. Actually, I'm not going to take credit for this because Amy Williams, who is my sidekick, she's my operations person, and she has the biggest heart in the world. And her husband is military, and she saw this come across, and she called up, or she got in contact with Mr. Gamble. And we are basically helping him run his social media for this event.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. And I host this every year, and this is on Vietnam Vets Day. And I'm bringing a bunch of kiddos. I'm bringing students. So my cat time, my homeroom, we've been talking a lot about Vietnam. There's a book out called 77 Letters, and I've been reading excerpts of that to them. And I've got some connections to Vietnam. We lost a good friend in Vietnam. And it's one of my earliest childhood memories, Mr. Kenneth Pease. Anyway, we won't go off on that, but you had mentioned that you were involved with that, and so we'll be talking more about the Vietnam Veterans Day celebration or memorial that will be happening over at Springfield Memorial Gardens. This is all associated with the Orange Heart Medal Foundation, and we will put up a new piece of the memorial on Vietnam Vets Day. and I'm going to be honored to be there again. So, and bringing some students with me, and they're very excited. The little stinkers, they're more excited about maybe stopping at McDonald's on the way. You know how that goes. I've got to get that approved by Dr. Osborne, though. So anyhow, so what do we want to talk?
I will tag the Facebook page in the comments later today. So
okay,
yeah,
very good.
So people can see that.
So you can see what's going on. So where do we want to go next, gentlemen?
Well, I actually have some questions. I actually
Okay.
when I contacted Coach Brown over the weekend, he said, well, just tell me what we're talking about. And of course I purposely didn't tell him that we were streaming this to social media, because then he would find a reason not to be here. And so I kind of put him on the spot there. But Coach, we've been talking a little bit, and of course I know that what I do at East Robertson, and we've talked in the East Robertson community. We've been talking about the top 5 athletes that have come out of East Robertson. Mm-hmm. You've been in Springfield. That's where you grew up, and I know I'm throwing you on the spot, and this is a discussion. So this is something that this isn't a definitive list. This is just off the top of your head. If you was to name, I will look for you for a name from Springfield. I would guess Johnny Gardner was a top athlete. Excuse me, Johnny Darden.
Johnny Darden, yeah, definitely played at UT.
Played at UT
with the Ernie and Bertie show, and so yeah, list. I heard somebody say this the other day. They were getting ready for the combine, and of course we got the draft, NFL draft coming up, and they were talking about lists are so hard because I grew up in a time period different than your time period, and some of your athletes are maybe not the ones that I would have followed, but I grew up in Springfield. You mentioned Johnny Darden, and of course at that time I was still hearing stories about Boy Smith and and legendary athletes like Gene Beck and the Carrolls and Ashleys, and I'm not gonna, if I throw names out, then I'll probably miss somebody, and then as I got a little older, you had Greg Bell, who played 3 sports and went on and played in college, and then there was a team that came through around that time. Of course, it had Ricky Chapman, Kimmy Gunn, Larry Utley, Kenny Ray Gardner. Went on, got a little try with the Cowboys, and then you had Tim Norman, and of course there were great athletes in county that played a lot of multiple sports from this area, from Springfield. I think of guys like Jamie Bracey and Michael Gallagher, who were able to. These guys could play just about anything, you asked them to play. And then getting to East Robertson when I was first coaching there, and then, of course, you got the stories about Fitz and, of course, Kevin Kleiner and all those guys that went on to the state championship and the Blakemores. And then, of course, Carlos Groves and Marcus Bell. And then we get up to y'all's group and, Jason Young, who could do about anything, on a ball field, and Jamie, I'm really proud of Jamie, especially for the things he does in the community and in the media business. You've kind of touched a lot of different fields, and he does a great job with the community and giving back to the community. And Jamie, he was a really good athlete. I know I pick at him a lot about that, and I did try to recruit him for football, and he always reminds me that I never got him out there. So, but yeah, there's, and again, we look back, and I think I mentioned, Curtis Woodard and David Woodard, and like I said, I've mentioned the Swearingens, and and that there's a lot of families that not only were they given support, at every game and every practice and every booster club event, but they were also supporting those kids that were coming through. And and so when I got to Heritage, like I said, Mark Reed is very one of my friends, and so his son Christian Reed was an excellent athlete and played multiple sports. And of course, one of his teammates, Devin Wright, who could do just about anything, with a ball or anything like that. And of course, there was a lot, and I'm going to miss people. That's
that's the thing when you get into the listing.
So as soon as I get off of this, if anybody was listening to this,
what about
that? So that's what I got to say. There's so many great athletes that come through. I mean, my brain, like Branson Crammett at White House Heritage, he could catch anything, So there's going to be, and I'm going to get off of here. Like I said, I'm going to take a beating from some kids that are going to say, hey, you didn't mention me, and and there's nothing but love there for all of them, and I had a lot of great experiences.
Well, everybody, I put Coach Brown on the spot.
Yes.
Okay, he was
But he
not
did pretty
prepared for
good.
this.
He
He was
did
not
pretty good.
prepared for this. And what I was wanting, just like I said, off of your knowledge, was those older names, because I think sometimes we forget. And as you was mentioning some of those names, even me, who has my older siblings, were all graduated from East Robinson. I didn't come up to East Robinson until I was in 8th grade.
Right.
I came from Nashville, and I came up here, and I got the opportunity to play basketball, which, that me and you've taught before, that really changed my life. But then when you look at, we also have to take into consideration somebody like Mark Reed, who lived in Robertson County, but who went to White House High School.
Yes.
Because, if you're going to talk about athletes from Robertson County, because back then, White House took Sumner County and Robertson County students because it was on the line.
That's right.
That
That's
wasn't
right.
up until you took over as head coach of Heritage. And what year did Heritage open?
2002.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even in 2002, you were still, if you were a junior and senior and you lived in Robertson County and you were already going to White House High School, you could still do that. You didn't have to go to Heritage. It was after the first 2 years, then if you were in Robertson County, you had to come to Heritage. So 2004 was basically when Heritage started getting a full roster. I was, started saying you were actually pulling players that still wasn't opting to go out to White House High School, to the Blue Devils. So you got to think about that team that Mark Reed was on, Coach, gosh, I was about to say Limley, but it's not Limley, it's Coach Bryant, Denny Bryant. The team that Denny Bryant, and those guys still meet for breakfast and stuff, and it's kind of crazy, but that was such a close-knit team out there at White House. And they
Lance
were good.
Woodis was on that team, wasn't he? Yeah, playing everything too. Yeah.
And so you think about those people, and so then also you think about the Philip Harrises and the JT Taylors, that played at White House. You think about Jonathan Finch.
Oh yeah.
Jonathan. Phenomenal athlete. So what I'm trying to do, and I don't know where this will ever go. It might be great to put something out, to maybe have a podcast, maybe get somebody who's smarter than me and better at grammar to write a book. But the book about Boy Smith is coming out, and you've mentioned that.
It's out.
I just think we have such a huge history of athletes, and we know it at East Robinson because when he started coaching, well, in 87, you had a Mr. Basketball in Fitz Jones. In 89, you had a Mr. Basketball in Carlos Groves. 92, you had a Mr. Football in Curtis Woodard. 93, you had a Mr. Basketball in David Woodard. 94, you had James Cook as Mr. Football. And then you had Kirk Swearingen, who was that Mr. Football lineman, right?
Well, Rodney was.
Excuse me, not Kirk.
Yeah, Rodney was finalist. Yeah,
he's
for
gonna let
that.
me know
Yeah.
now.
I know. I'm sitting here, and like I said, you've kind of jogged all those memories and all those things, and I was sitting here thinking about even my class. And you're talking about athletes. We had Jesse Gray that was a great athlete. And of course, his son went on to play in the Major League. Of course, I played with Ricky Summers, and we had a lot of great athletes on those teams, and of course they're going to wear me out too because there's a lot of guys that I still talk to and text, and I'm sure they're going to ask why didn't you mention me, But the list could go on, and we still have enough time, to get everybody in there. And of course, like I said, I think you've already mentioned the gray hair on my head, and
I didn't mention that.
Yeah. Well, the memories are, sometimes, unfortunately, they don't all come till about the third cup of coffee, and so.
I feel you. I think we're probably about the same age, more likely.
And we haven't even talked about Joe Burns yet.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Mr. Gardner up there.
Ash Browner.
Yep.
There's you got to look at, of course, and even though look at the Atkins, Tom, he's retired this year, and think of the mark he's made on that program and the community there.
What you do is you get people to submit. Say if you believe that you've got an athlete that you know of, submit a page of their stats and maybe just an overview of their career. You get somebody like Nancy Arnold to collect those and put, because she's the book person. She can put together books. She's the one who brought together, her and Danny worked, and I believe Nancy's brother put that book together for Coach Smith. And so she could, and she'll be like, I don't have time. Well, she's wanting to teach somebody, and we had them in about that book, and she said, I would love to teach somebody how to do this, because she worked for Lifeway for years and years, and so she's got that background. So she's somebody that could tell you how to do it. And of course, Amazon's an easy book publisher now that you can work with. So you could collect the stories and put together a book without. Have everybody just kind of write their own page, and the ones that don't have somebody there that can represent them, some of you, you're retiring. You're retiring, Coach.
Thanks for putting
You're
that
retiring. I'm just saying,
I taught history. I didn't teach English, so the grammar thing might be a problem too, as you can tell when I'm talking. I drop a lot of y'alls. Well, think about Greenbrier too. I mean, John Elmore up there is a coach, but he played a lot of different sports. Walked on at UT. Derek Lucas, who got a Mr. Football there as well. So
somebody also mentioned Coach Carlisle.
Oh yeah,
at Joe Burns mentioned a guy named Mark Allen at Greenbrier. I believe I'm saying that name right. Really good basketball player that played there at Greenbrier. I think he played other sports as well. Yeah, I think that I think sometimes we forget, or I think sometimes, I don't know. I want to say that it's kind of bringing some attention to the Robertson County athletes. I think sometimes everybody thinks we're just some old tobacco farmers, but I'll tell you, if it wasn't for those tobacco patches, some of these athletes wouldn't be who they were anyways.
Yeah. When I got to East Robertson, we were still practicing football at nights because the kids were cutting tobacco during the day. They would get to practice and they'd have tobacco gum all over their arms, up to their elbows. Most of them were dehydrated. We were having to pump them up with Gatorade and everything else just to get them through the night practices. And then they were right back in the fields the next day.
See,
and so
that's farm kids. That's
right.
The basketball team I played on. We were all farm girls, and man, we were rough. We were tough stuff, man.
I moved up from Old Hickory, and and I remember my 8th grade year. A friend of mine in 8th grade, Jerry Jones, he invited me. Hey, would you like to come work one day and make some money? And I was like, yeah, Jerry got me hooked, or hooked me in, I should say. And I can remember in high school going to camp. Everybody's like, dude, we're about to play 30 games in a week. And I'm like, for us, it's a vacation. It's like, send me somewhere to play basketball. I welcome that because it gets you out of the tobacco field.
Yeah. It's so funny. I had my children, I farmed them out to somebody to haul hay one time just because I wanted them to have the experience because they just don't have any idea. They were like, man, Mom, that was a lot. I was like, yeah, we used to do that all the time, buddy.
Yeah, that's right. And then go to practice. And, and then, of course, Jamie and I, we're throwing out a lot of male athletes, but just like you mentioned, playing basketball, and this county's had some great female athletes come through,
Muriel?
too. Yeah.
Muriel Barnett.
Yeah. So we've got some, and that's one of those things where the attention needs to, as you're talking about, putting those things together. Whether they shouldn't be like in a list form, because you don't want to say this is the number 1, this is number 10.
Sure.
But just to have those that information out there so people can kind of not only just kind of reminisce, but also think about some of those events, because that's kind of a trigger for us a lot of times, right? You walk into a sporting event and you smell the popcorn cooking over there, and or just talking to people that you haven't seen in a long time. So.
It's so funny because my husband's from Norway, Michigan, just south of Lake Superior, and there's it's one of the little bars up there. They have their athletes, their athletes on the wall, and my husband's on there, because he was he did 3 things, and he was that kind of athlete, and so it's just a cool thing, and I think I know what an honor. It's just cool for us to have that up there. To they remember his athleticism and his career, and so I think you need to do that. I think you need to have a place where you can remember it because man, it's a lot of work that goes into that. So I love the book idea. I'm getting retired,
Yeah.
you can do this.
Y'all got me my side hustle for retirement.
There you go.
How y'all are doing that.
There you go. So,
Coach, I do want to ask a question, and hopefully I'm not putting you 100% on the spot. As athletic director of the county, could you pinpoint the top 3 things that you do for the county, for the schools, for our student athletes? Is it more or less, is it a lot of, for lack of better words, is it really just you coordinating with the schools, their facilities and things like that? Is it a lot of compliance? I know I've called you sometimes when, hey, can I do this? I know every time he sees me on the phone, he's like, all right, what does he want me to talk to TWSAA about today?
That's funny.
It's this role. And we're very blessed with the board members that we have in this county. They've collaborated, they've worked together. They see the need, especially with our athletic facilities, because we've been kind of behind for a while, and then we got kind of hit with the budget constraints, and then we got hit with the COVID. You know, so we've had to kind of work through all that. You know, they saw a need in the county to have an athletic director, a district athletic director, so they could get one voice. And I'll be honest with you, you know, I kid Dr. Kazi all the time. I said, you know, I was the first one. I've set the bar really low, so the next person is going to knock it out of the park. I'm telling you, they're going to do a great job. But it's one of those things where I think the key thing has been the one voice, you know. And we've got a lot of communities. You know, Jamie remembers us building things at East Robertson as a community. We went to Heritage. We did the same thing. We had to build our outside facilities as a community. And it's sometimes tough because then you've got people kind of pulling against each other if they're not collaborating and working together. And it puts a lot of strain on the community and just getting things done right. So I think you know, that's one of the things, and I think Dr. Kazi said that to me one day. He says it's just nice to have a voice. Each one of our school ADs does an awesome job. I could not do my job without them. They worry about safety. You said compliance, you know, TSAA and the state, you know, Safe Stars Act went into effect. So a lot of the things that we've been doing as a county to get ready for this, you know, great people have been putting that together, and I'm just kind of the one trying to make sure that we're still following that path and that direction. And then I always say that hopefully that I'm an advocate for not only the coaches and the student athletes, but for the parents, for the administrators, and for the athletic directors, and that we're all, you know, like I said, trying to pull together and trying to head in one direction. And the vision is that we want to improve it, but we also, it's about life experiences. You know, you both said it, you know, your teacher and your coach plays a big part in your life each and every day. I mean, we're with them sometimes more than some of their parents are, because their parents are working, you know, multiple jobs just to kind of keep the family afloat, right? And so we're there with them. And, you know, I saw that, you know, during the COVID era, you know, well, we're still in it, but during the pandemic. And I think we see now how important that teacher interaction that we were having, you know, the one-on-ones, right? And I think the same thing like you were saying with the coaches, because we all have those coaches that made a great impact. You know, for me, it was Jerry Pearson, you know, Randy Thomas, Greg Bell, I've already mentioned, Gene Beck. I mean, Gene Beck wasn't even my athletic coach, but he was my FCA, you know, huddle leader, and he made a huge impact on my life, you know, and just those mentors and having those mentors.
Did you say FCA?
FCA, yes, ma'am.
Fellowship
of Christian Athletes.
So they had that back then?
We just started it, yes.
That's why it just kind of hurt my. When did you graduate? When did you graduate?
That's what I was saying. You just said back then, you know.
When did you graduate?
Hey, where's y'all's HR department? You just called me old.
Okay, I graduated in 1980. I
was 81, so.
See, you're younger than me.
I was an older 81.
Well, see, I bet. Okay, I was born in 62.
I was born in 62.
Okay, see, I knew we were probably just the way you're talking. I'm like, we're the same era. We're the same era. Stop.
But yeah.
Okay. So I thought we were probably the same age.
And the reason why she asked is because I've brought on Andrew Fortner, Jordan Martin from FCA. You know, I'm trying to use this platform that we talk about sports as well as how important that is. Those huddle leaders, those things inside the school, those guys with FCA. It's like it's so important that Fellowship Christian Athletes of being the only organization able to go into our public schools, and they're doing it and they're doing it right. You know, and I know that Coach Brown is a huge, you know, here at the Robertson County chapter, he supports that a lot. Andrew Fortner and all they do. I believe, I don't know if you talked to me the other day about Rudy Kalis. You did. I told him that Rudy had spoke, a couple years ago, and then Coach
awesome job,
Coach Bird.
He's awesome.
Rick Bird did
Rick Bird was
job.
great. And then last year we had, I can't remember who was last year.
Well, Dyson came.
Dyson, that's
came
right.
and spoke, Dr. Dyson, and and Maddie and Andrew Fortner are doing an awesome job growing the, not only in our county but the whole, northern Middle Tennessee
I'm just so
area.
impressed with the program. I wish we had that. We didn't have anything like that when I was growing up. And that's why when you said that, I was like, really? Y'all had Fellowship of Christian Athletes? Maybe you're younger than I thought.
It was my senior year, so, and so we got... But it's, and I guess probably Andrew mentioned it, the FCA, our golf tournament's coming up in May.
Yeah.
And but you talk about some great people on that board. And, of course, our president's Ernie Harper, which you know Ernie really well. And Ernie is he's one of those guys, he's an unsung hero. He just goes out to all the schools. And, I think he's cooked for just about every coaching staff in the county, from Greenbrier, Springfield on, to East Robertson. So he does a great job with that.
I'll tell you, we need to pause for a second.
Okay.
Talking with Coach Pat Brown and Jamie Nixon with Nixon Pro Media. Coach Brown is our athletic director for Robertson County Schools and getting ready to retire. So but this is a fun conversation to have anytime. This is so interesting. But we do need to pause and talk about Cumberland Connect because I'm so impressed with them. I love having the Cumberland Connect and having that high-speed internet. And here's what's fascinating is when the power went down, and we had our generator running, the fridge and all of that. I thought, I wonder if the internet works, and it did. I plugged the internet into the generator, and so we were able to get. And where I live down in a holla, and I have no phone signal. I have to piggyback it on my internet, and so it's just it is a thing. When my internet goes down, it's like I'm off the grid. So I plugged in Cumberland Connect, was able to get connectivity even with the power down, and was so impressed with Cumberland Connect. If you have not discovered the blessings of Cumberland Connect and high-speed internet, what are you waiting for? Reach out to them today. You can go to cumberlandconnect.org, or you can give them a call at 800-987-2362, 1-800-987-2362. Just go online and just Google them, Cumberland Connect. If you are a Cumberland Electric customer, you're going to have access to this high-speed internet. $80 gets you a gig. I know I don't need a gig. My children tell me it's like filling a bathtub with a fire hose, but it's $80. I was paying $65 for terrible internet, and I've cut off everything. I've dumped everything, and I'm just with Cumberland Connect now, and it is wonderful. If you want to find out more, get in touch with them today and put your address in and say, hey, when are you going to be in my neighborhood? If you're a Cumberland Electric customer, they may already be there. Just check it out. cumberlandconnect.org, or give them a call at 1-800-987-2362, and check out the connectivity program, too, that could give you up to $30 off, or $30 towards internet services if you qualify, and they can fill you in on that as well. And be sure and let them know that you sent you. Thank them for sponsoring One Street Over. And back to our show. We've got about a little under 10 minutes. I've still got one more ad to do. About 10 minutes. I've still got one ad to do. What do you want to talk about? So, where do you want to go from here?
Well, I would do this, and I think that I did not know until just 10 minutes ago that Coach Brown was our first athletic director.
Oh, yeah.
And he's joking when he said he set the bar low. I think it's always hard to be the pioneer in anything.
Sure.
I mean, when you're the first one and you have to blaze a path that not a lot of people have blazed before. And so, of course, along the way, and I'm not saying that you have, I'm just saying, of course, I'm sure that if you could have some things to do over, you do them over, that he's made some mistakes, but he's also probably has done more good than he has harm to this. I always like to think about the future is, I know if you guys have somebody in mind, I know you can't say it, so I'm not asking you to say that. But if you do know anything, will you have a part of that, of who is brought in next? And then also, do you think that'll be somebody in the county? Somebody that was, is that kind of is that what they're looking for, Dr. Causey, or are they looking maybe bring somebody from outside with more experience or something like that?
Those are great questions that Dr. Causey and we've spoke, but we don't know exactly what direction we're going in right now from the central office. But I just know that I feel like we have a lot of very talented individuals in the county that would do a wonderful job. And the thing there is that they're vested, and, they understand the history. And coming in, sometimes you got to kind of, step back, because you're looking at it from a whole, not from, an individual piece like we might have done when we were in a community school like East Robertson, or for me, East Robertson, White House Heritage, of course, Springfield, which I grew up in, and then, my dad went to Greenbrier, so I played ball there, football. And so I kind of, had all those connections. And then I've always had, from the Joe Burns side, I've always, with Tom and Coach Carlisle, and just having the kind of relationship there, and of course from being a history teacher for 29 years, that's always the thing that moves me too, is just looking. I want to look forward, but like you were talking earlier, those traditions and legacies and histories that we don't want to lose touch with, because obviously going forward, not only do we want to learn, because like you said, we all make mistakes. We're all human. I'm a work in progress. I know that. And, but again, it's, and I've used this story before, and I don't mean to get off task, but when I first came into the central office, I was used to being a football coach and taking charge and getting, just trying to get things done. And when I first went to central office, I didn't realize some of the decisions I made on my end impacted people throughout my building. I didn't realize that we talked about the collaboration piece and being part of a team. And so I've had to kind of pump the brakes several times and then go through the building. And we've got some great people at the central office that are very supportive of not only athletics, but students and teachers, and and have to go through and say, hey, look, I want to do this. Is this going to impact you negatively? Is this going to be a positive? And I've had to learn that on the job pretty much. And Dr. Kazi's been very supportive of some of the programs that we've implemented. We've got a program, I don't want to get too off task here, but it's called A Better Way. And it's a program that we brought in for engagement for coaches and for parents. And that engagement piece between the coaches and the parents, and building those relationships. And we're talking about positive relationships, because all we ever see on the news is all the negative relationships and all the things that happen sometimes. And we all know that there's a lot of things to gain from athletics. And we just talked about a lot of those things. And we need to keep growing that in a positive, not a negative way. Jamie touched on it earlier, very few people go on from high school to play college athletics, and even less go on to play professional sports, anything. So I think the biggest thing that we need, and I was guilty of it as a parent, Laverne, you said the same thing. We need to realize, hey, look, our kids they need to be playing sports to build memories, relationship building, team building, and get those great lessons that we learned about, like I said, when you get knocked down, get back up. And I think that's the thing that we need to take from that. So that Better Way program's been, I think, one of the things that, really proud of for that. And so like I said, learning how to work with others, I think that's a key thing. And again, I can't say enough about the athletic directors that I have out in the county at our schools, and all the work that they do to make sure our kids are safe, that we're getting our coaches' education and keeping that communication between the parents and the principals and the student athletes.
And with that said, we do need, Ilya, our president of Ebenezer Brock, has just walked through and reminded me of something I need to announce real quick, just to kind of change the subject. But I appreciate so much what you said and agree with it wholeheartedly. I apologize for getting distracted there for just a second. But we lost a soldier in this area, and they're honoring him, and they need volunteers to set up and take down U.S. flags in Jewelton today in honor of memory of CW-03 Daniel Wadham, U.S. Army, killed in the line of duty when a helicopter crash happened. And so if you can reach out to Jewelton to, I guess they didn't really, the flag mission, okay, you can go to theflagmission@gmail.com, The Flagman Mission, the Flagman Mission at gmail.com. But if you haven't been watching the news, we did lose a guardsman, Tennessee guardsman, and his name again was Daniel Wadham of U.S. Army. Was killed when he was also a Metro policeman, and hearing his friend Officer Payne talk about him just was remarkable. And so just a remarkable young man, family, kids, all that. So I didn't want to forget to do that. I apologize for kind of jumping ship and talking about that real quick. But
well,
anyway.
I'll just share, this is the reason why, if you're watching, if you see this, that you share this. It's great to sit here and talk about sports and student athletes and things like that. But even just that right there, that's one of the most important things. Let's spread the word of all the stuff that Laverne's doing for our community on the one street over. And Coach Brown, man, I'm just thankful for you being in my life through all these years, and somebody that I can, to this day, I can still call. I think it's great. I'll say this myself, and for all of you parents out there that are displeased with your high school coaches, sometimes we as parents just got to get out of the way. And my son told me this a long time ago. He was quarterback at White House, and they were not having a good season. And I'm saying this to all the parents because I had to learn this lesson, and I get choked up sometimes when I hear this. And I remember trying to watch some film with my son the following day after a loss, and he said, "Hey, Dad, I don't need another coach. I need a dad."
Ooh.
And that's when it kind of changed for me.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, there's a lot of men in my life, because I didn't have a dad. There's a lot of men in my life who were fathers in an indirect way. Coach David Colley, Coach John Decker, and Coach Pat Brown. They were always people that, even though I did not play for him, to this day, I would dare to say that he took a vested interest in me through my 4 years of high school.
So, very good. I love it. What a legacy you're leaving, my friend.
Y'all are
God bless you.
Too kind, but thank you so much.
God bless you, and just wish you all the great blessings that are in store. So and I got a feeling they're going to be tapping you to do other things.
His wife his wife has said retirement means retirement.
Retirement means retirement. There you go. But I do need to do one more break, and then we'll come back and say goodbye. But we're going to talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. My friends up in Cross Plains. Save the date, third weekend in May. We're going to be up at Kilgore Park for the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival. They are sponsors of the festival. On the board as well that bring us that festival. But don't wait until the festival to come out and talk to them. If you need help in real estate, whether you are buying, whether you're selling, whatever it is, when you come to the table, if you want somebody that stays up to date on everything, Rebecca is one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. I mean, she studies and she knows how to cross those T's and dot those I's. Barry is the marketer. If you have property that is not getting any attention, that nobody's, taking a look at it, well, what do your pictures look like? Do you have any video? Oh, how about drone footage? All of those things. Barry was a vice president of a media marketing company for 17 years before he went into real estate. He knows how to market, and he is exactly what you need to bring to the team. You'll probably see his work at the Open Door Pregnancy and Resource Center dinner tonight because he helps them out with their little walkthrough tours that they do. He's just always helping out. The community comes out and helps me with the drones at the school because I remind people I'm smart enough to know what I do not know, and I know how to talk on a microphone, but I don't necessarily know all the tech. So he's helped me tremendously as I'm getting acclimated to teaching the audio-video program at Greenbrier. He's just that kind of guy. She's that kind of woman, and they're a great team for you with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. Connect with them at sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com. They specialize in Robertson County properties, but also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. Contact them today. Tell them U-Turn sent you. Parting thoughts, gentlemen?
I think somebody's trying to get your attention. Did you?
No, he's working on something.
Okay, all right. Good. I thought maybe he was trying to get your attention.
I announced it. See, there's that announcement. He's saying, hey, I've got that announcement. I've already done it, you. I got it. Already did it. But if you want to be a part of that, yes, we're going to honor, they're honoring the soldier that lost his life. And you can contact them if you want to help. theflagmanmission@gmail.com. theflagmanmission@gmail.com. You can help them out with that. But they're going to be, let's see. that's all the information on that. But they're
Right.
going to be putting out flags, and they need help up in Joelton to honor Daniel Wadham, U.S. Army, killed in the line of duty. So there you go.
My ADD was just kicking in.
Yeah, I know.
Super
Well, I had just done it. That's why when I saw him, I'm like, I got to announce that because he had sent that to me. He's a veteran too, so he's like, get
Big
that
game
done.
tonight. Big game tonight.
Yes,
definitely.
You're going to watch history. Hopefully the Indians win at 7 p.m. tonight, and that means they will go to their 14th state tournament.
Incredible.
love it.
Incredible.
14th,
Isn't it?
yeah.
Isn't that
That's
exciting? That is so exciting. Oh, that's awesome. It's going to be a great night. So, very nice to officially meet you.
Nice to
He'll
meet
be
you.
back
Some
before he
great
retires.
things about
Yes,
you.
absolutely.
He'll be back before he retires.
Absolutely, got to get you back in here. This was fun. I enjoyed this, guys. Thank you
Appreciate
so
it, guys.
much.
Thank y'all for throwing a spotlight on Robertson County and Robertson County
Absolutely.
athletics. And like I said, there's a lot of people doing some great things out
Yeah.
there. I know y'all mentioned CMC getting out and doing their thing, and then like I said, all out to the administrators, teachers, everybody at the central office at Robertson County. It's my peeps, and I'm proud of all of them and how hard they work on a daily
I'm
basis.
so excited to be a part of it too.
There you
It's
go.
fun. It's awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you guys for joining us here for One Street Over. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless. Have a great day.